What brings the worst out in people? Traffic. Black Friday. Travel. To know what a person is really like, go traveling with them. I always like the HALT rule. If you're feeling hungry, angry, late or tired, then it's likely things you say or do will come off worse than you intend. Edit. Lots of replies about the L being lonely. That works too. Turns out learning acronyms differently brings out the worst in some people too. Inheritances. I've seen both my family and friends. Families absolutely ripped apart after someone dies and another family member doesn't feel they've received their share, or that the will was unfair, or that property mysteriously goes missing before the estate is settled. Awful. Awful stuff. I think the worst is my friend's dad and his sister haven't spoken for over 30 years due to a squabble over their mother's will. 30 years. The kicker is that they're both quite well off on their own. Friend's dad is a very successful trial lawyer and friend's aunt married a successful doctor. This wasn't money either of them ever actually needed, but they've not had a relationship for decades because of it. Divorce proceedings. Especially with kids involved. It can turn a couple of average people into monsters. Jealousy. Not just for success. I've seen many relationships crumble because someone was happier than the other. Weddings. My father is a minister. He says he would rather help with a funeral over a wedding any day. Weddings leave people with a sense of extreme desperation to achieve perfection. Thinking they're being cheated. It almost makes me want to stop doing games in class because if there's two teams, both teams always complain that the other team has some sort of unfair advantage. In reality, neither team understands the true length of a minute and thinks they're being cheated on time. When you were told to wait 20 minutes and it's now been 21 minutes and you are still waiting. Stress. Most of us are capable of being decent human beings who make a positive contribution to society. You add stress into the mix and people start to crack. Financial stress. Relationship stress. Work stress. It doesn't matter. When our focus is pulled into simply surviving and staying afloat, our ability to empathize or provide support to others greatly diminishes. I think this is tied in with the low morale we are all experiencing right now. We're all unbelievably stressed. I've seen some of the nicest people completely snap and act shockingly because they just can't take the pressure anymore. The word free. In a retail or restaurant type of setting, people will trample one another, take all of the items so there aren't any for others, gorge themselves, try to sneak food out with them. It's disgusting. Hunger can make people do things they never thought they were capable of doing. It can drive your mind out of control. When a loved one dies, people get really weird in a bad way about money and stuff. I know a bunch of people who had relatives who flat out stole money and valuables after the death of a family member. It's crazy. My own family has a permanent rift because when my grandmother died, 2 of the 5 siblings cleaned out her accounts. Funerals. All the heightened emotions make people irrational. Any buried family drama comes out at the worst possible time. I've been caught in the middle of it before. I didn't even know the deceased. I was there supporting my friend who had lost her mother. Someone decided this was the time to air a 20-year-old grudge as my friend walked by. My friend was so caught off guard by the accusations she was speechless. I told this crazy lady this wasn't the time or the place for this conversation, so she turned on me. Next thing I knew, some other family member was violently yanking her out of the room. I guess it could have been worse. But why did you have to make a scene at a funeral? Scarcity. People get real stupid when it comes to their kids. The "my baby can do no wrong" attitude when your child is frocking sit-up needs to stop. Not being accepted by other people. Social contact and validation is no different from food or water. Yes. People can starve on validation too. That's why simple things like greeting strangers in the street, or always saying, "thank you," are so critically important. Desperation. Unprocessed trauma from childhood. As someone that is struggling with mental health, I'm only now beginning to understand why I do a lot of what I do. When our needs for love and acceptance aren't met, we seek out soothing behaviors that numb the pain. It's really easy to end up in midlife with no real idea what it means to be happy and feeling no connection to others. As you begin to work on your issues, you find that the soothing behaviors are no longer as soothing because you know why you're doing it. So, you're stuck with the emptiness that you've always felt and no way to get out of the feeling. League of Legends. Traffic. The after-work rush home is the worst. Everyone is tired, has generally had a bad day and will do anything just to get home and relax. I-4 in Tampa is basically Mad Max Fury Road but with regular cars. Ego. Power. Anonymity. Putting a mask on. Being on the internet, or otherwise concealing one's identity. People do some very fucked up things when they know they won't be held accountable. Echo chambers. It is easy to dehumanize people who are different than you when you never spend any time interacting with them. Money. The moment money is involved, a person's true nature comes out, and most of the time it won't be pretty. Pain. But at the same time it can bring out the strength you never thought you had. 2. Cocaine. Former legal assistant here. I'm telling you. You don't ever see the worst in someone until you're in the middle of a nasty divorce fighting for custody of your children. It's horrendous how evil some people can be to someone they once loved. Diarrhea. Entitlement. Being challenged or ganged up on. My mother will freak out whenever she feels like either of these happening to her and she starts screaming. At those points, it's pretty much best to walk away and ignore her. Though she likes to say I'm running away from her. I'm sorry, I didn't realize that I needed to interact with your tantrum. Fear. Every single answer so far ultimately ties back to fear. Fear of losing money. Fear of losing power. Fear of losing livelihood. Fear of sickness or death. Fear of failure. Fear of missing out. Fear, in any form, with any motivation, turns people into blind, panicky, stupid, vicious animals. And then there are those who benefit or profit by stoking fear in people. They, obviously, are worse than animals, but are likewise motivated by those same fears above, creating a vicious fear circle. Parking. A pandemic, obviously. Politics. Edit. Holy smokes, I didn't expect this to blow up. Also, thank you so much for the awards. Mario Kart. Monopoly. Uno. Basically any game where you can really frock over your friends and family. Bullying. I got bullied a lot in primary school. As soon as I got rid of my bullies in secondary school, I started bullying other people in my new school. I regret it. I was such a dig then. Custody battles. Holy frock. Death in the family. Nothing draws the worst of the worst extended family out from under their rock like the prospects of free sit. You winning the lottery. Your family will turn into super leeches. Alcohol. If alcohol were discovered tomorrow, it would be illegal. Not to be generic, but money. More specifically in my case, a well-paying job. I've seen some of my friends go from being cool, humble people with okay-paying jobs to being complete snobs about money as soon as they got a well-paying one. As soon as they started making more money than most of their friends, they would rub it in our faces, or compare incomes, claiming we need to step it up, and that it's our fault we're poor. High expectations. Think bridezillas and families in Disney World. If everything doesn't go perfectly, people with very high expectations for something get very upset very quickly. Money. The poor want it, the rich use it, and the inheritors will kill over it. War. Depression. Sometimes depression doesn't express itself only as sadness. Sometimes it expresses itself as a really loathsome form of selfishness and desperation. And you will do almost anything to try and feel right again. And you don't care as much as you should who you step on to feel that way. I'm someone who treated many great people very, very poorly while I was in some of the darker parts of my life. It certainly doesn't excuse my behavior, but it has helped me to come to grips with it a bit, to stop punishing myself, and to help me understand the responsibility I have in dealing with my mental health. Politics. Slow internet. Money. I know lovely people that when you get money involved they turn into greedy as holes. I'm selling my company for a few mil as sole owner and decided to give each employee a massive piece of it because they deserved it in my mind, some up to 35%. I thought it was generous. Then the ones that got the most are the most as whole about it, claiming it's not enough compared with what they do for me or demanding that I pay for stuff out of pocket for the deal to go through, so the percentage means more money. I was like, WTF. I don't give a shit about money, as can plainly be seen. It came naturally from good and hard work. But these people, it's all they care about. They are wonderful people otherwise. This is a strange one, but I'm saying horses, at least in the dressage world. I dated, and was married to a state champion dressage rider for about 5 years total. So I got a pretty close look into that world. Those people are not only just straight up weird, but they are conniving backstabbers as well. Also, when you add in that city air people have when they are just a little rich, it makes for some awful personalities all around. The riders aren't so much that way, but the owners and trainers definitely are. The riders are more just plain weird. Social media. It's not even close. Reddit. Politics. Chemical alcohol addiction and impairment. Sleep deprivation. Physical pain. When a person is in pain, it's all they can think about. They're not the same person they usually are, and they can do and say things that are totally unlike them, because all they're thinking about is how much they hurt. Anything competitive. I've seen some of the nicest people you'd ever meet. At each other's throats at the first sign of competition. Tribal politics. Large sums of money, power, a sense of untouchability, meth. Addiction. Facebook. Power can. Some people handle it great and are good leaders. Other people mistake passing off their responsibilities while sitting on their ass for delegating. Organized religion, specifically Christianity. I'm a Christian, and I think religion and personal faith is fine. But when you start having multi-million-dollar church buildings and preachers with million-dollar private jets, something's gone wrong. Lack of perceived consequence. If people think they can get away with something, with no repercussion, they will do it no matter how morally objectionable they say it is in public. Greed. Other people. No matter how much of an asshole you think you can be when you're alone, when you're around other people whose assholery is even slightly aligned with yours, there's an amplification effect. You start off just asking questions on internet message boards, and a year later you're snapping selfies while you try and storm the Capitol. Probably Reddit.